Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, heading into the next several days here, I need to make sure we understand how much rainfall we had over the last 7 days. So this is looking here at our precipitation patterns, and because of that cutoff low that snuck in and then headed like this up to the Great Lakes states, we were able to draw in a lot of moisture into this previous system, such that over the weekend we brought heavy rainfall to parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas, getting right here into the lower Mississippi River Valley, and then just to the east of it were some locations picked up here in parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama rainfall amounts that got well over 6 inches. And again, this was last weekend. Places that only had hit or miss precipitation was over here, stretching from parts of southern Alabama, but getting through Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina there. So the big question is, with the next system coming through, how much rain are we anticipating? So I want to go straight to big picture on this one before we dig into the details. So through Friday night, with the next system that is coming through, we do see that much of our southern region from central Texas all the way over to the east coast has the potential, especially right in through this corridor, of picking up some very heavy rainfall. Rainfall amounts in central Texas may get upwards of 1.5 to 2 inches, but there could be a corridor in through here that, in addition to some stronger thunderstorms, may pick up 2, in some spots, maybe 4 inches of rainfall with these thunderstorms as they come through. But after Friday night, the front squeaks on through, actually through Thursday night, and such that we get into the day on Friday through the weekend, things dry out. So look at the difference between the next several days, then getting all the way out into the weekend. So drier air coming in, big area of higher atmospheric pressure sinking in here, and as a consequence, we're going to go from a very wet pattern to a dry one as we begin our next week. Keeping this on the idea of big picture here, we're going to have to wait until Thursday night before that front makes it all the way over to here. So the cold air that is tucked away in this area, sneaking through Texas and Oklahoma, almost immediately here, slowly advancing toward the southeast. Well, because it's going to take its time, over the next 5 days, parts of our southeast are really going to hang on to the warmer bias. But with the development of a deeper trough sitting right here between the Great Lakes and the Hudson Bay, we're going to have some northerly winds coming in here and much cooler conditions in the 6 to 10 day time period, which is what we're looking at in the map over here on the right. And because the longer range models here are trying to keep the presence of that broader trough in this area, we do notice that our 11 to 15 day forecast time period is keeping things on the cooler side for much of our southern region, while the west is what's starting to warm up. So with our bigger picture out of the way, let's dig right on into the details. I want to teach you something here that I want to make sure that we're watching all winter long. You can see that the jet stream winds are coming across the Pacific and then breaking up here into the Gulf of Alaska. You see, what I'm tracing right now is the position of our polar jet stream. We have a second component to the jet stream, which is sitting down here, and that is what's called our subtropical jet stream. Now, all winter long, we need to watch the interplay between these two pieces. Sometimes they are one big unified, fast-moving jet stream that moves across the Pacific Ocean. In this case, they are split. Now, when they are split and the main trough axis sits somewhere in the central United States, this tends to be a very wet and unsettled and active time period for the eastern half of the country. All right, and that's because the subtropical jet stream coming in enhances the upper level support, primarily upper level divergence in that quadrant here, to produce, multiple rounds of low pressure systems. So we're always going to be watching where this trough is going to be located and how the subtropical jet stream and the polar jet stream are coming together across the United States, okay? So you keep an eye on that pattern with me throughout the rest of our cold season here. Now, what we notice is, when we're looking here at the upper level flow pattern, is that, again, going into this on Tuesday, the jet stream is coming in from here and it's running over the top, and they're both meeting right in through this direction, right? Okay, we need to see if that pattern changes. As I click play on this, through the end of this week, that trough, as you just saw, swept through there, bringing in a big low. Now, as it does so, what I notice is that once I get out to Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the models have been advertising that the main trough is now going to sit again here between the Great Lakes and the Hudson Bay, but the trough axis is now a bit more oriented like this. There is one little piece that comes off here in the north central plains, but why I'm bringing up these differences is that if the trough tends to sit here through next week, this is a drier pattern for us in this area, in our southern region. So this is an important bit of a change to see in the flow pattern of the atmosphere, and it tends to want to to hang on. I'm all the way up to the 9th now. This is next Saturday, not the one coming up, but the one following here on November the 9th. And that's why we tend to see the cooler weather here, but potentially some drier conditions. We're going to take a look at both of those things in a few moments. Now let's dig right on into our high resolution modeling. What we're playing forward here is with the position and type of precipitation we're expecting throughout the day on Tuesday. So we see that from Texas getting all the way down into Louisiana, coming over here back into parts of Florida, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, widely scattered showers and thunderstorms with enough cold air on the back side of it. We might be bringing a bit of a wintry mix here into parts of the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. So as this system takes form, again, out ahead of it, widely scattered showers and storms into this corridor into the Tuesday evening. And here's the main precipitation shield taking form right here out ahead of next system. So take a look at this. By Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, our next system is now developing. We see a broad shield of rainfall that's stretching from central Texas through parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas up into Missouri. Out ahead of it, wide open Gulf of Mexico moisture transport. On the backside, brutally cold air for this time of year sinking in. We're going to be watching for the potential for more snow here in parts of the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. I'll show you that in a few moments. Now I want you to watch as I get out to Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. This corridor right in through here, I'm watching very carefully for the potential for some strong to severe storms as the main frontal boundary does push on through. So be on the lookout in this area for some stronger thunderstorms as this comes through. But as I kind of rock this back and forth, you can see the trajectory of these storms is more southwest to northeast. Can you see that? And because of that, the thunderstorms are going to repeatedly form and follow one another. And the end result is, instead of a front that blasts on through very quickly, cooling things off and pushing the storms out of the way, these storms, once I get you into the overnight hours on Wednesday into Thursday morning, train and therefore bring quite a bit more heavy rainfall. By Thursday mid-morning, we can see that the storms are moving through Tennessee, Kentucky, over into Alabama, Georgia, and the tail end of it by Thursday afternoon gets right here along the spine of the Appalachian Mountains. From there, let's just flip this over to the GFS model, pause it right here, and we see that that particular system by Thursday afternoon is sitting right in through this area, and it will finally push off to the east by 7 p.m. Thursday. This is now 1 a.m. Friday, getting into Friday morning. It seems that system has finally moved its way to the northeast. Now look at the higher atmospheric pressure that builds in behind this. That higher atmospheric pressure dominates throughout much of our weekend. Yes, it is cold, but it seems to be dry through midweek next week. Okay. From there, let's now take a look at what those rainfall totals are going to be. So this is now back to the European model because I think it has the best handle on the precipitation totals. I've got the south central region over here on the left and the southeast over here on the right. We see that through parts of central and eastern Texas, the potential for about a ½ inch to some locations in through here, picking up maybe as much as 1.5 inches or 2 inches of rainfall are possible with the initial showers and storms that come out of this. Now, as we move over toward the lower Mississippi River Valley, you can see that getting basically to the east of the Mississippi, all the way over here, almost to the Atlantic coastal plain, we do notice that the potential exists for anywhere between 3/4 of an inch, and some locations here may be picking up 2.5 to up to 4 inches of rainfall. Remember, the storms, the trajectory is something like this. They're kind of training over one another. We will, of course, enhance that with some elevation here along the Appalachian Mountains. But notice right up here, when you get up to down in southeastern Georgia, coastal North and South Carolina, those rainfall amounts kind of taper off as the main frontal boundary stretches farther to the north and east and weakens as it gets over to the coast. Now, we can't rule out, again, for the Texas panhandles, parts of Kansas and Missouri, the chances for snow out of this next system as it initially takes shape. So you're looking here at a map that shows the probability of picking up at least 3 inches as this next system comes through. So another potential round of some snow here in and around Amarillo points to the north of there as well. So just wanted to address that snowfall risk for part of our southern region too. Now, getting out into the week 2 time period, okay, I've got the European on the right, the GFS on the left. We're starting to see something going on over here in Texas. You can see the European's a little bit less aggressive with that rainfall being above average, but the GFS on the left is picking up on a wetter pattern in week 2 in parts of Texas. The GFS is also more progressive with getting that drier air to stick around after the front blast through here for the southeast, where we can still see some lingering precipitation from the European. Why this is such a tricky forecast and you don't see such dominant signals is because with that upper level trough sitting and spinning here, normally northwest flow coming through the central United States tends to be a drier pattern for us. But we're still watching a few weak features that might move through that could bring in some precipitation into the week 2 time period. I'll have to be analyzing this over the next few days to get a solid idea for week 2, but I want to at least show you what our major modeling centers are looking at right now. Okay. Watching our temperatures, let's just get an eye on when this front comes through. So we notice that by the time we get out to 1 p.m. on Tuesday, the cold air is already firmly in place through parts of north central Texas. We will then watch that front blast through. This is 7 p.m. Wednesday night, so its location tends to be, or seems to be, have already moved through Dallas, all the way up here into parts of southwestern Missouri. So the main frontal boundary is advancing. So now we get into 10 p.m. Tuesday, early morning on Thursday. The main front will have moved through the lower Mississippi River Valley. By the time we get out to Thursday morning, Thursday midday, Thursday early afternoon, Thursday evening. This is 7 p.m. on Thursday evening. We can see that the main frontal boundary now is all the way here, has moved through Atlanta and getting through parts of the Appalachian Mountains. The temperature colors that you see back here, these are in the 40s. See that? So we got some really cold air and a very brisk wind coming in behind this front. And that front makes it all the way to the East Coast. And if I just stop it right there, this is 7 a.m. Friday morning. This is where our freezing air will be. So we're going to get some pretty chilly air coming into this area by the time we get into early Friday morning. All right? Okay, from there, just want to point out one other thing about this frontal passage that's coming through. As the low is sitting here over parts of Michigan and the main frontal boundary is here by Thursday afternoon, just know we're going to have some stronger winds coming out of the north and the northwest. And those winds may be 10 to 20 miles an hour sustained, with some locations gusting up higher than that. And this just means that your Thursday evening, which is important for, I know, your kids, it's just going to be a very windy and cold one for much of our southern region here. About the only place that's going to hang on to its warm bias will be right over here into Thursday evening, okay? Longer range stuff that I'll be talking about tomorrow. We did notice that over the last couple of days, the Madden-Julian oscillation has finally come out of phase 1, and it briefly jumped over into phase 2 before heading back over to what's called the null phase, which is right in through here. Now, all of this behavior in the MJO is actually due to that Indian Ocean dipole event. And one of the things I want to be addressing in tomorrow's video, so please don't miss it, is we still see this feature over here in the Indian Ocean, sending those easterly winds all the way back to late September. We've seen this. But a piece is kind of broken off here over by the international dateline. And why I want to talk about this is because that one change has shifted our longer range focus a little bit. Looking only at week 3, so this is now getting us out to the 11th through the 18th of November, we now see a bit more moderation in temperatures, and we also see a bit of a change in our precipitation pattern for the southeast. So remember, we tried to build a case in the last long-range video that the probability of this area seeing wetter than average conditions for the whole of the month of November, well, that probability was better than 50-50. But we have seen a bit of an adjustment, and some of that adjustment is seen right here in the northwest. And it turns out that adjustment in the North Pacific might change things up for our southern region, especially over the southeast. I'll address it all in tomorrow's long-range update. Hope you all have a great week. We'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you.